Jeremy, there's a lot of devices in GNS3. So we have a lot of devices like Dynamips, we have QMU, we have VPCS, iOS V. There's a lot of devices. It gets confusing.
Yes.
To know what's what, yeah?
Yes, it's actually the emulators.
Yep.
So we have Dynamips.
So let's start with Dynamips, because that's the one that's been around for many, many years.
Yes, that's the first one we integrated in GNS3.
So that in the old days, we used to run 2600s, 3600s,
37,
7200s, that kind of stuff, yeah?
Yeah,
So
all
these-
those legacy platforms from Cisco.
So these were only, in the old days,
Yes.
you only supported Cisco routers
Yeah.
in GNS3. A lot of people have thought that GNS3 only supports switching. That's not true. I mean, GNS3 has been able to support switching for a long time. But we'll come to that in a moment. But Dynamips is originally where it started, yeah?
Yeah.
So if they want to run legacy Cisco devices like a 7200 image, this is real Cisco iOS images.
This is real iOS Cisco images. You have to download them from Cisco.
Yeah. So you get them from cisco.com.
Or you can eventually extract them from a real router.
So from a physical device that
Yes.
you've got or something like that, yeah. And when you import it into GNS3, you have to select the router type, don't you? So you would select
Yes, you have to.
7200.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
in
you
the
have to do
background,
this.
it knows it's a Dynamips device.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at some of the problems here. The first problem is getting images.
Yes.
Cisco have removed all of these images.
Yeah, I think you cannot download those
can't
anymore
get those
from the
anymore from
Cisco.
Yeah, you can only get 7200s at the moment.
At the moment, and it's only iOS version 15.2.
Okay, so that's another problem. So first thing, you can only get this. Other problem is it's only 15.2, so you don't get the later releases.
No.
And is it stable or?
For the latest images, it's fairly stable, but it will use more resources than with iOS V. Like especially if you don't have the idle PC value.
So let's talk about idle PC value. What is that?
So the idle PC value is it's like a number that you tell Dynamips. It's like, how can I say it?
So if you don't enable this, yeah,
Yes, if
your
you don't.
CPU goes to 100%. Doesn't
Exactly, yes.
So
the Dynamips does not know when the iOS does not do anything.
Yeah.
So that's basically that value tells Dynamips, the Cisco iOS does not do any instructions. It's not like running
BGP and 100 other things?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like a hexadecimal value, isn't it? Like
Yes, that's
0x,
yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't want to be too technical, but that's the instruction that tells iOS does not run something.
And in the old days, you had to go and like run a process.
Yeah, you had to do it yourself. You had to like, I want my idle PC value. You had to wait like 30 seconds for Dynamips to propose different values, and you will pick that value and see if your CPU goes down to a few percent.
But today you don't do that.
But no, today you can still do it, but usually GN3 will propose you idle PC value, default idle PC value, and usually that's a one that works.
Okay, so basically when you do the import, like of the template in GNS3, like the appliance or whatever, it will suggest a idle PC value, which generally is good.
Yes.
And you just click next, and then your CPU doesn't run at 100%.
Yes.
So basically, idle PC for a normal, like layman user, is just something that if you don't set, your CPU gets destroyed.
Exactly.
Anything else you want to say about Dynamips?
So Dynamips was useful so far because it supports serial connections.
Okay. Yep, that's a good point. So let's talk about the advantages. So there's problems to using Dynamips, but one of the advantages is it supports serial interfaces. But I'll say Cisco have removed serial interfaces from the CCNA exam from 2020. So
there is no real reasons to run Dynamips anymore.
Yeah, so this is like kind of a dying...
It's a dying product, basically.
And the other advantage is you can run this on the GNS3 VM, but you can also run it locally, can't you?
Yes, you can run it locally on Windows or Mac or on Linux or in the VM.
So just from an architecture point of view, you've got the GNS3 GUI running on your PC. Let's say that's on Windows. You could run this without the GNS3 VM, just with the GUI. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, you could totally you're on Windows. You have only the GUI, and you run Dynamics directly on Windows.
Yeah, so that was kind of like an advantage, I suppose.
Yeah.
But you'd recommend people don't use this. You'd recommend they go to VIRL, yeah?
Yes.
And QEMU.
Now we recommend the VIRL images. So VIOS, IOSV, IOSV Layer 2, ASAV, NXOSV, XRV, all the virtual appliances from Cisco.
Okay. And another advantage, but I would say it's actually a bad thing, is that in Dynamips, I should say, you can use this ether switch module. So like in the old days, like we've been doing this for a long time, you could have like a 3660 router and you could insert a module here that would allow it to become a switch.
Yes.
So you could do that in GNS3, couldn't you?
You could do that. One downside is that Ether switch module did not support all the layer 2 features.
It's rubbish.
It was kind of very limited. Also, the commands were a bit different than on a regular switch. So it was okay, but it was not perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I would strongly suggest that. I mean, like Jeremy said, use something else if you want to do switching.
Yeah.
Don't do this. You're going to cause yourself a lot of frustration. So again, what would you use? Would it be iOS V Layer 2 or something?
That's a one. This appliance has almost all the Layer 2 features you need.
Yes, I mean that appliance can support Ether channel Layer 2, Layer 3 today. It can support span. It can support a whole bunch of features. It's almost anything can be done here these days. Whereas this, not a good thing to use.
No, it's obsolete.
Yeah, so I think the bottom line is, well, let me ask you this. Will Dynamips stay in GNS3?
Maybe it will stay. We would like to remove it, but we know that some users still like it. So we will hide it from GNS3 or put a warning, please don't use this anymore, but it's still there if you want to use it at your own risk.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. Use it at your own risk.
Exactly.
So in other words, you could use it, but it's not recommended.
Yes.
Okay, great. So Jeremy, another device available in GNS3 is VPCS, yeah?
Yes.
What is that?
So VPCS stands for Virtual PC. And it's a very simple program that will emulate a PC or simulate a PC to be more accurate. And that small program actually supports only simple things like ping, traceroute. You can configure an IP address. It supports DHCP. And the main advantage of VPCS is very lightweight. So you can run hundreds of VPCS nodes. That's a main advantage. And it's very simple, like ping, traceroute, few other commands. It's mainly used to test your connectivity in your projects.
Yeah, so you basically just configure an IP address on the PCs, yeah?
Yeah.
And then you can do a ping between those two PCs across a switch.
Yeah.
Okay, but is it something that people should still be using? What do you think?
No, the better alternative is to use Docker.
Yep.
So you can use a Docker. It's also very lightweight. And you have all the Linux commands.
Yeah.
So same as VPCS, you have ping, traceroute, but you can also install Python or any I don't know,
any application, right?
Any application that runs on Linux, you can install in a Docker container, and it's very simple to use in Gen3.
So I mean, I think it's the same thing. Like with Dynamips, technologies change and technologies improve. In the old days, quite a few years ago, this was the only way to do a lightweight PC. Yes. But now we've got Linux Docker containers. And I mean, the advantage of Linux is it's you could install anything, really. DNS, DHCP,
exactly,
Python.
Yeah. You're not limited like you will be with VPCS.
So do you also think this will go well, perhaps go away, or
that will probably be the same as with Dynamips, where we will keep it, but like hide it a bit out of the way. But if someone still wants to use it, we'll have a warning. Okay, it's deprecated, but please use at your own risk.
Great. Anything else you want to say about VPCS?
No, that's
very
it.
basic.
Yeah, very basic program.
Basic PC.
Basic PC. There's a few bugs around in this program. We don't update it anymore.
Yeah, so use
yes.
Docker.
Yep. Use Docker if you can.
Great.